The Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 18, The Yoga of Liberation by Surrendered Renunciation. Arjuna spoke. I wish to know the truth about abandonment and of renunciation and the difference between them. Krishna replied. The wise declare abandonment to be relinquishment of actions prompted by desire. They declare renunciation to be relinquishment of attachment to the results of action. Some learned people declare that action is to be abandoned because it causes pain, while others say that acts of holy offering, giving, and austerity are not to be abandoned. Hear my final word about the three kinds of renunciation. Acts of holy offerings, giving, and austerity are not to be abandoned. They are to be performed because they purify the wise. These actions are to be performed without attachments to the results. This is my definite and highest understanding. Renunciation of obligatory action is not proper. To abandon it because of delusion is tamasic. That person who abandons actions because they are difficult or because of physical inconvenience performs only rajasic renunciation and does not obtain the results of that renunciation. When action is done as duty, abandoning the results, such renunciation is sattvic. The wise renunciate who has no doubts and is filled with goodness has no aversion to disagreeable actions and is not attached to agreeable actions. Embodied beings cannot abandon actions entirely. The devotee, then, who abandons the results of action is a renunciate. After death of the body, the influential effects of action for those who have not renounced them are threefold: destructive, constructive, and a mixture of these two. There are no effects whatever for those who have renounced them. Learn from me these 5 factors for the accomplishment of all actions as declared in the Samkhya doctrine. The body, the seat of action, the agent of action, the organs involved in action, the various separate actions, and providential influences being the 5th. Whatever action a person begins with the body, speech, or mind, whether it is right or wrong, these 5 are the factors for the accomplishment of all actions. This being so, one who sees himself as the doer does not truly see, because understanding has not been perfected. That one whose mind is free from egoism, and whose intellect is pure, who slays these people, does not really slay and is not bound by actions. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower comprise the threefold impulse to action. The means, the action, and the agent of action comprise the threefold basis of action. In the philosophical system in which the categories of cosmic manifestation are categorized and numbered, Samkhya, it is declared that knowledge, action, and the agent of action are of 3 kinds, distinguished according to the differences in the modes of nature. Hear about this also. The knowledge by which the imperishable being in all beings is perceived as undivided is sattvic. That knowledge which perceives multiplicity in all beings because of their separateness is rajasic. That knowledge which is unreasonably attached to a single insignificant effect as if it were the whole without seeing the cause is small and tamasic. That action which is obligatory, which is performed without attachment and without desire or aversion, with no wish to obtain a reward, is sattvic. That action which is performed with much effort, impelled by a self-centered wish to fulfill desires, is rajasic. That action which is undertaken because of delusion, disregarding consequences, loss, or injury to others, and without regard to one's capacity to perform it, is tamasic. When released from attachment, free from egotism, endowed with steadfastness, and unperturbed in success or failure, that person is known to be sattvic. When passionately desirous of the rewards of action, greedy, violent-natured, or impure motives, and subject to joy or sorrow, that person is rajasic. When undisciplined, vulgar, obstinate, cruel, deceitful, lazy, despondent, and procrastinating, that person is tamasic. Now hear, taught separately and completely, the threefold distinctions of intellect and of steadfastness according to the influences of the qualities of nature. That intellect which knows when to act and when not to act, what is to be done and what is to be avoided, and what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, along with understanding of causes of soul bondage and soul liberation, is sattvic. That intellect which errs in determination between what is right and what is wrong, and between what is to be done and what is not to be done, is rajasic. That intellect which is enveloped in darkness, which erroneously determines wrong to be right and sees all things in a perverted way, is tamasic. When practicing yoga, unwavering firmness by which one masters mental process, vital breath, and senses is sattvic. That steadfastness by which one clings to duty, pleasures, and wealth with attachment and desire for the rewards of action is rajasic. That steadfastness by which an ignorant person does not abandon unnecessary sleep, fear, grief, depression, and conceit is tamasic. Now, hear from me of the threefold happiness that is enjoyed because of the practices of yoga and in which one reaches the end of suffering. That happiness born of one's mind, which in the beginning is like poison, but in the end like nectar, is sattvic. That happiness derived from contact between the senses and their objects, which in the beginning is like nectar and in the end is like poison, is rajasic. That happiness arising from excessive sleep, indolence, and negligence, which both in the beginning and afterwards clouds the mind and restricts awareness, is tamasic. There is no one, either on earth or in heaven, among the gods, who can exist free from these three qualities born of primordial nature. The duties of the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, and Sudras are apportioned according to the qualities which arise from their basic mind-body constitution. The cultivation of tranquility, restraint, austerity, purity, forgiveness, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and faith in God are the duties of the Brahmins, those who are spiritually and intellectually developed, born of their basic nature. Heroism, vigor, steadiness, skill, not fleeing from battle, generosity, and leadership are the duties of the Kshatriyas, who are dynamic and self-disciplined, born of their basic nature. Executive endeavors are the duties of Vaisyas, who enjoy life and are skillful in the use of resources, born of their basic nature. Service and any other suitable endeavor is the duty of the Sudras, who are provincial and unskilled, born of their basic nature. One attains perfection by being devoted to one's duty. Hear how one who is devoted to duty obtains perfection. That from whom all beings have their origin, and by which this universe is pervaded, by worshipping, reverently relating to, that through the performance of proper duty, one obtains perfection. Better is one's own duty, though imperfectly performed, than the well-performed duty of another. One does not incur misfortune by performing appropriate duties. One should not abandon the duty to which one is born, even though it be performed with deficiency. Indeed, all enterprises are clouded by defects, as fire is obscured by smoke. That devotee whose understanding is unattached, who has self-mastery, and from whom desires are gone, awakens to the supreme state of freedom from actions. Learn from me, briefly, how one who has awakened to perfection also attains to Brahman, the highest state. Endowed with pure intellect, with firm self-control, abandoning sense objects, casting off attraction and aversion, dwelling in solitude, eating in moderation, controlling speech, body, and mind, constantly devoted to yoga meditation, taking refuge in dispassion, relinquishing egotism, forcefulness, pride, desire, anger, and attachments, remaining unselfish and tranquil, that devotee is fit for realization of supreme consciousness. Absorbed in supreme consciousness, that one who is tranquil, who does not grieve or desire, and is impartial among all beings, has the purest devotion. By devotion to me does one come to know me in truth. Then, having known me in truth, that devotee enters into me. The devotee who performs all actions with reliance on me attains, by my grace, the eternal, imperishable abode. Mentally renouncing all actions in me, devoted to me as the supreme, taking refuge in the yoga of discrimination, have your attention constantly fixed on me. Concentrating on me, you shall pass over all difficulties by my grace. But if because of egotism you will not listen, you will perish. If you egotistically think, I will not fight, vain will be your resolve. Your own basic nature will compel you to fight. Then, deluded, against your will, impelled by your own karma, you will do that which is contrary to your wish. God abides in the hearts of all beings, causing all beings to continue their experiences by the power of illusion. Flee with your whole being to God alone for refuge. By God's grace you will attain supreme peace and eternal abode. Thus the knowledge that is more secret than all that is secret has been explained to you by me. Having considered this fully, do what pleases you. Hear again my supreme word, most secret of all. You are dearly loved by me, therefore I will speak for your good. Meditating on me, being devoted to me, making holy offerings to me, surrendering to me. In this way you will truly come to me, I promise you, for you are dear to me. Abandoning all duties, take refuge in me alone. I will liberate you from all misfortune. Do not grieve. Do not speak of this to anyone who does not practice austerities, nor to anyone who is without devotion, who does not render service, who does not want to listen, or who speaks ill of me. That one who, having performed the highest devotion to me, teaches this supreme secret to my devotees, will surely come to me. There is none among humankind who does more pleasing service to me than that one, and no other on earth will be dearer to me. And who will study this sacred dialogue of ours, by that one I shall have been worshipped with the wisdom sacrifice. Such is my assurance. Even the person who hears it with faith, without disputing it, that one also liberated, shall attain the joyful realms of those whose actions are purified. Have you heard this with concentrated attention? Have your ignorance and delusion been banished? Arjuna said, My delusion is gone, and I have regained wisdom through your grace. My doubts are removed. I shall do as you ask. Sanjaya spoke. Thus I am thrilled to have heard this wondrous dialogue from Krishna and the great-souled Arjuna. By the grace of Vyasa, I have heard this most secret yoga which Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, has personally taught. Remembering again and again this marvelous and holy dialogue of Krishna and Arjuna, I rejoice again and again. Remembering again that marvelous form of Krishna, my amazement is great, and I rejoice again and again. This is my conviction. Wherever there is Krishna, Lord of Yoga, wherever there is Arjuna, the self-disciplined devotee of God, there will surely be radiant good fortune, victory, well-being, and righteousness. In the Upanishad of the Bhagavad Gita, the science of the Absolute, the scripture of Yoga, and the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, thus ends the 18th chapter entitled Moksha Yoga, the Yoga of Liberation.